Hello and welcome to the first ever chess game of Peter LEKO. Peter LEKO was born in Hungary in 1979 and he became a grandmaster at the age of 14. That was the world record at that point. And clearly his biggest achievement is that he was the challenger of Vladimir Kramnik in 2004, and that match was actually very exciting. LEKO was leading most of the match, and it went down all to the very last game when Kramnik had to win, and unfortunately Kramnik was able to deliver the victory and then equalize the match. And at that point the rules were that if the match ends with a draw, then the current world champion keeps his title. So that was the way that Kramnik managed to keep his title against LEKO. But now let's go back to the young LEKO. At this point he's only 10 years old and he's playing his first classical game. It's actually played in Germany. And Peter is with the white pieces and his opponent is Ulrich Jahr. So let's get started. E4, E6, we're going to see the French defense. D4, D5, Knight D2, C5, E takes D5, E takes D5, so the so-called Tarrasch variation of the French. Very standard stuff. Knight F3, Knight F6, Bishop B5 check. So white knows that it's going to be at some point some isolated pawn middle game, so this D5 pawn is going to be isolated. So white is actually very happy to exchange pieces, so that's why the Bishop B5 check. Bishop D7, changing on D7, castle. Bishop E7, takes on C5, takes, Knight B3, castle, and C3. And here we can stop for a second to evaluate the position. So, well, obviously black has this D5 isolated pawn. That's the main characteristic of the position. So black would like to at some point maybe try to attack the white king. That's the usual way it goes. But white has actually a very good control over the D4 square. Sorry, the D4 square, is knight can jump in. This D5 pawn is not yet that weak. So, well, white has some advantage because of the isolated pawn, but not much. Now comes knight E4, knight D4, rook E8, bishop F4, actually quite a nice move. Controlling this diagonal, that's usually where black would like to launch an attack, but the white bishop is going to be a great piece to counter that. Comes queen B6, queen B3, bishop C5. And actually in this position white had a great way to continue. So in these positions when the opponent has an isolated pawn, it's a very good idea to exchange the pieces, especially the queens. So white's best move here is to really exchange the queens and then try to go for the endgame and try to sooner or later attack this D5 pawn. So queen B6 was a nice move, but Peter didn't go on that route. He played the move rook D1, rook ED8, H3. Again, instead of H3, the best move was just to capture on B6, H3, and now black says that he should get out of the queen trade and makes the move queen A6. Here comes rook E1, H6, and well, it's actually not very easy to find a plan for either color. The computer's best move here is bishop E3, and then play the move knight C2, trying to offer the trade of these bishops. And if black doesn't comply, then place a knight B4, attacking this queen, maybe putting some pressure on the D5 pawn. So, but here Peter makes the move A4, and that actually allows many tactical continuations from black. So black plays the move bishop takes D4. Super counterintuitive, giving up this bishop, but the point is that the black knight is going to arrive on C5, and that's going to be actually a double attack. So let's see how the game goes. So actually white has 3 ways to capture. So if you take with the pawn, that would have been the best option. Then of course the pawn structures become symmetric and the position is essentially equal. The other option was to play with the knight, but then black plays the knight C5, double attack as mentioned before, so this one and this one is also hanging. And if you play a move like queen E3, the problem is then after exchanging on E1, that is knight D3, another double attack here and here, and black is doing well, too fine. So for that reason, Peter makes the move rook takes d4. That looks very natural at first because that protects this a4 pawn. So when black plays knight c5, then well, you can make the move queen d1. So actually here it would have been better to take on e8 and then take back and then make a move with your queen. That's more or less equal. But this is not what Peter did, unfortunately. He played the move queen d1. And after rook takes e1, queen takes e1, actually I invite you to stop the video here and try to figure out a good way to continue for black. So now in this position, white is actually lost quite some control. This rook on d4 doesn't look too good. This pawn on a4 is quite weak, and there is here an option to use these things. So black can start with the move knight e6, again a double attack, and here the white rook has to stay on the 4th rank. So Peter played the move rook b4, but here black has a very nice way to go on. So if you haven't found it yet, then I invite you again to stop the video and try to find the best move for black. So this knight is attacking this bishop, and this is the only rook that protects. So black has the nice move d4 to further disconnect the white pieces, and now this bishop is no more protected. So if you take this pawn, then black can just take the bishop and the game ends immediately. So for that reason, to d4, sorry, so knight e6, rook b4, d4, Peter played the move bishop d2, but the problem with this move is that there is also this pin. So if you remove your bishop somewhere else, then there comes d takes c3, and that's also this cover attack against the white queen, and again white is just losing. So comes bishop d2, but after d takes c3, b takes 3, knight d5, the black pieces all of a sudden are super coordinated, and white is just losing huge material. So now the problem is not just that this rook is hanging, there's also knight takes c3 because of this pin along the d file. So here came rook b2, knight takes c3, one pawn, queen b3, and knight takes a4, the other pawn. And well, essentially this also concludes the game. While white is just down 2 pawns and too few material left to do anything about this. So the game is going to go its inevitable end that Peter is going to lose. So exchanging the queens, and after this there's absolutely no chance. Black just slowly pushes the 2 queenside pawns, that's his majority. And yeah, I'm just making the moves here, but there's really not much to see. So and soon later, actually quite soon, Peter is going to give up. And c2, a5, and now that both the pawns are going to just be pushed, there is nothing left to do here. d4, black also brings a king a bit closer, and here comes rook d5 and knight c4. Nice final touch. The rook is hanging, and rook d2 check is a threat, so Peter finally resigned. Yeah, so this was the first game of Peter according to the databases. It's of course very hard to find out exactly which one was his first game, because it was in 1989, so there's no, I mean, it was how many years ago, like more than 30 years ago, so the data and any information we have is quite limited. Yeah, so this was at least in my opinion his first game. It actually started out quite nicely, so white had a nice stable position, solid position out of the opening. It would have been quite important to also exchange the queens here, and then well, Peter would have had a small advantage. So that's it about this game. I hope you liked it, and see you in the next one.